I would work on what am I going to do in the heart of pillars, which is now to New Year's Day. It's all teed up for you. It's a celebration. It's the best time of year. I would take all my energy and connect so that I pull through what I need to, and then I can set myself up for great opportunities Q1. If I get my mindset right, I'm well connected going in to the end of the year, and then I'd work on my overall leadership.
Welcome to the Lion's Edge, where top performers sharpen their teeth. Hosted by Joe Blackburn, founder of The Lion, who is relentlessly dedicated to helping business owners lead multi-million-dollar teams. And me, Jason Croft. I transform unseen entrepreneurs into industry leaders by developing their market gravity. Each week, we reveal proven strategies and raw insights to help you maximize your business, multiply your wealth, and make your family indestructible. Now, let's create your edge.
So if I were looking at Q4 and going into 2026, is that what next year is? 2026? I'm getting old.
Yeah.
There's an unlimited amount of information. And I actually had someone bring this up. They're like, we're talking about the basics. And I'm like, yeah. Because people, sometimes overlook those and want complexity because they think a very complex system will change their lives, or a new tool, or whatever it is. But if I were looking at how I wanted to run through the end of the year and set myself up for 2026, we can't deny the need for some competency in AI and how to leverage it. Using that for connectivity, I think it is smart. So we're always looking there. But if I was looking at, all right, knowing that in 2 years, all of our jobs are going to be displaced and we're going to eat bugs, according to all the podcasts I've seen on YouTube in the last 2 weeks, that we got about 2 years now before there's no jobs. But let's say there were going to be still some jobs. Let's just, for argument's sake, somebody still is going to value you as a human being and
Right,
want
let's
your
play
service.
pretend. Right.
Like want your services, want to feel connected. Maybe they're a Renaissance person where the AI stuff just doesn't click with them yet. And if I'm running a business, let's say I ran a $4, $5, $6, $7 million business, and it's me, my team, and some fulfillment, whether it's skill-based or service, whatever that is. I mean, that's most of the people I work with is, they're not running a 100 or 200 person company, and it's just, it's traditional small business. What I would focus on, number one, and we say this all the time, and I'm looking at more ways to help people do this because it's a daily thing. I would get my mindset dialed in. I would do everything I can. We're detoxing social media, which is weird because I'm doing a podcast and then that's going to go on social media. But the rule is if you use it to make money, you can do it. So I don't know if I can finish the podcast because we sure shit aren't making a lot of money doing it. But I would go all in on what I can control, which is between my ears. And I've probably had, 20 conversations in the last 2.5 weeks of great people, and their heart's in the right place. They just think small because they don't know. They don't know how else to do this. They don't know how else to envision it. So I would go to work heavily on my mindset and programming that. And unfortunately for all of us, it's a daily thing. We've had this conversation like 100 times. It's the old vitamin C. I take vitamin C today. I use it all up. Tomorrow I got to take vitamin C, or I don't have it. I'm deficient. So I would spend some time getting laser focused on how I'm going to do that habitually to put myself in a position to not be in a scarcity mindset. That's one. And it is not easy. And I'm telling you, my rabbit hole on YouTube of these people writing books about you don't know what's coming and all that. I'm guilty. I'm actually saying these things to myself. So I would get my mindset dialed in, because on the flip side of that, there is unlimited capital everywhere. We've had this conversation. So I would start there. And if I'm not doing it habitually, I would figure out a way to make it like brushing my teeth, that I'm going to get my mindset where it needs to be. Then I would work on my connectivity and the controllables within that. I even saw one of the YouTube, and I like him a lot. I'm not going to say his name. I mean, he does great work and he's got a great story. And he said one little thing, he's like $100 million SaaS and all this stuff. He said one little thing, and I had heard that probably my first year in business. I don't know if my dad said it or who, but somebody like when I started going farm to farm said, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Now, this person's built an empire on YouTube and SaaS, and he threw that in there. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. So if he's saying it, like when I say it, it's got some weight, but that dude's saying it, it still rings true. So I would get dialed in, and it's the easiest thing to put off because you can put fires out all day. You can find all the solvable problems that consume your mind. I would work on what am I going to do in the heart of pillars, which is now to New Year's Day. It's all teed up for you. It's a celebration. It's the best time of year. I would, take all my energy and connect so that I pull through what I need to, and then I can set myself up for great opportunities Q1. So if I get my mindset right, I'm well connected going in to the end of the year, coming out at the beginning of the year. And then I'd work on my overall leadership, meaning how well am I leading my people? Because if they're using tools, that's great. At the end of the day, someone's got to operate the tool. Now, if I can eliminate everyone in my business and run it all through technology, great. But I still think there's a human component to that. And I think people and we've had some different things go on in the line in the last couple weeks that are interesting around who you have to fire, who you have to hire. Are you going to allocate capital? All the different leadership decisions. You lead yourself first in those first two. And then how well is your team actually being led? Meaning, are you doing what you say? Are you being a good listener? Are you showing them the way? Is the vision clear? Which is as trite as a day is long. Like, what's the first three things you do in leadership? Vision, mission, and purpose. Seems trite, but I think that gets with busyness, that becomes a little diluted. And actually, the key to leadership isn't everybody in the company likes you and follows and does everything you say. That would be ideal, and I would love that. However, true leadership is developing the next leader. Who's up next? Like who's going to step up and want to do this? And can I give them the resources and the mentoring and everything they need to succeed and give them the rope to do it? Because if I don't get my mindset right, what will, again, I think I repeat myself, but a lot of people want to delegate and want to scale. They want those two things. They just don't want to give up any control, and they don't want to take any risk that someone's going to mess up. So I would focus heavily on those three areas, especially going into the end of the year and being set up to springboard into, Q1, Q2 of 26. If you get those right, hell, you could hire someone that masters AI. I mean, there is no shortage right now of how to utilize that tool online. And, you have to be somewhat optimistic that if you use it properly, it won't kill you. I would just have that attitude. If I do this well, it's not going to kill me in my sleep. But those three things, and those will carry forward. So I don't know what the future holds other than what we talked. I know the silver tsunami. We know AI is going to happen. We also know people are actually human. So those three, how do I capitalize on that? And that's what, we got our in-person coming up in November, and we're going to talk on some key areas there. But if I were looking at, all right, it's almost Columbus Day. What am I going to do between now and New Year's Day that's going to set me up for success and pull through all my hard work from the last, 3 quarters?
Yeah, and I think a common thread for those three areas to focus on that you mentioned is the putting a system in place to make it a habit. Every single one of those, from the mindset all the way through to being that better leader. It sounds weird, especially on the kind of leadership side. You need that version of a Post-it note in front of you. Have you communicated your mission and vision today? Have you done? Because it just gets, all those things get lost in the busyness if you don't.
Right. Well, it's easy to get sucked into the biggest problem. I mean, I don't think that's, revolutionary, that I get immersed in what I'm trying to solve and I forget about all the other things that at the higher level are what are driving this. So, and there's look, I'll give you 3 easy ways to do it. This is tough. When you wake up, go sit at your kitchen table for 5 minutes quietly. Like, just go walk out to your kitchen and sit down. There's one, and try to see if you can go 5 minutes. Sounds silly. I get feedback from the people that are actually doing it in the Lion, and they're like, man, that's a game changer. But simplicity is genius. Then if you were really ambitious, grab your notebook and write out your goals. Say your affirmations out loud. If we do something called a violent declaration, read it out loud. What internally drives you with fire that makes you want to do the things you're doing? Articulate it to yourself. There, now mindset, you're 99.9% ahead of the universe on mindset. And then I know how business flows. So if I go to my place of work or office or whatever, and I start my day with, oh, this was bothering me yesterday, and I start here, it's highly unlikely I get back to the connectivity. It's highly unlikely because I'm going to get, the parade show up. So set a 25-minute timer and focus on connecting, like pillars or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Just do it. I recommend 2 hours in the morning, 8 to 10, maybe 7:30, 9:30, because you have to be creative to connect. But maybe just do 25 minutes within that and make sure the connections that need to be made are moving forward. That one's pretty easy. And then it's not always routine to meet with your team. And I'm not saying you have to have an hour one-on-one with your teammates and the people that work for you or with you. Have some sort of rhythm that's in place. And here's where you can make huge strides. Every once in a while, get a pattern interrupt, out of rhythm, and just call somebody on your team or go walk to them and talk to them. Like, that's not a huge time suck. And you have more time than you think. So if you did those 3 things habitually, your life and your business would change dramatically. And those aren't, I'm not saying spend hours upon hours learning and doing. Just, if you're driving somewhere, which I don't highly recommend being on the phone, or if you have 10 minutes, go talk to the person that you're trying to pour into. They may give you a perspective on something that you were unaware of. I mean, we've had some conversations recently where, I get excited about something and I want it to happen, and I'm not seeing what's going on around me. That's good for everybody. So it's just like, it's called communication. Let's communicate a little more. And if it has to be done in your whirlwind and wig meetings, those are, goalposts in the week. You got to do those, but a lot of times it happens in the cartilage of the week, in the moment. So I would be highly aware of, can I dial myself in 10 minutes? Can I do the connecting that's going to actually move the needle in the business? And am I communicating and listening to the people that I need to perform at a high level? It's pretty simple.
Yeah. And I think we need those reminders to get back to that, because we so easily, if I'm going to get quiet in the morning, I really should be meditating. I should learn about this meditation thing. I should really, figure out what's the best way to meditate. Go with that, which it comes down to, sit down and get quiet for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And
you might scare yourself.
Listen. Yeah. Right. And just let that in. The whirlwind, what's the best way to lead my team and communicate and set up these things and these things? Hey, just have a conversation, Now, sometimes, your free 5 minutes may not be their free 5 minutes. So
Right.
Also be aware of those things. And maybe it does take some scheduling and everything, but also be really purposeful in those. That, like, this isn't a big meeting coming up. This is 5 minutes. It's a touch point.
Yeah.
5-minute touch point. Let's go. And have those little pieces in. And then on all of these things too, I think it's a good reminder to realize how much, it's lagging indicators, and it's over time that you don't do all of those things once and like, well, I didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that tomorrow,
Right.
and put these things into place. Because then a week later or 2 weeks later, you go, oh, wow, this has really shifted. I just feel better. All of the team's gelling a little bit better. All those things. And that's why, because we've talked about that before, these lagging indicators, it's tough sometimes to connect those dots. But when you have these, just like anything else, these systems in place and you can measure and have data points like, oh, this has really changed since I started doing this. And then that encourages you to go and keep that going.
Correct. And, one of my mentors, John Maxwell, you can't over communicate. You cannot over communicate. I mean, that doesn't mean to just stop in someone's area and, shoot the shit too much. I mean, every once in a while, that's not terrible. By the way, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need cycles of focus and relief and those types of things. But the more you do that, the more you'll know and the better results you'll get. And everybody feels like they're being heard and they're, the hard part about leadership is not focusing on you, how you feel and what's affecting you. The hardest part about being the leader is you have to be able to put that aside and focus on someone else, especially when times are tough. And even, I would say, sometimes more importantly, where things get missed is when things are going well. It's all going well. Why spend the time? Everything's working. My P&L's crushed. So I think it's just consistency. And I'll never claim to, have original thought, but I will claim if you do the basics and you keep things simple and you're consistent there, you'll get great results.
Yeah. And even if you're leading just yourself, if you're a team of one, the more on all of these things you can take the emotion and how I feel about it out of it and make it routine and do it over again, like, I'm not really feeling, what does that have to do with anything? And I'm guilty as anything. It's like, oh man, this is when I do this every day.
Podcast.
Yeah. This makes me feel this way. And what does that have to do with getting the thing accomplished? Right. And the more you can remind yourself and kind of smack yourself and just do it anyway, the better.
Yeah. Well, the hardest person to lead is yourself. And the people that follow you watch you more than what you say. So what's that word we use? Paradigm? That little paradigm is you talk to me all day long. If you're not doing it, I see where the line is. So I think it's a good time and a great exercise to evaluate that, take action, get some accountability if you need it, and be consistent.
Yeah. And this is a good reminder now, not when, in 3 months at the beginning of 2026, when people usually start reevaluating and thinking like, oh, I should really start some new habits. No, now get a running start.
My New Year's resolution. Yes, we'll start it now. Here, let's do something novel. Do your New Year's resolution on Columbus Day. Just do that. See if it gets you ahead of the game.
Yep. All right. I think those are good reminders. I think it's a good setup. All right, Lions. There's your itch.
All right.
You've just experienced the Lion's Edge. If this episode lit a fire, if you're ready to push past your current ceiling, there's more waiting for you. Want to see what it takes to become a member of the Lion? Visit jointhelion.com to discover how successful entrepreneurs become unstoppable forces. And make sure you never miss an episode by hitting subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This isn't just content. This is your edge.
This show is powered by Media Leads. Tired of being overlooked in your industry? Learn how market gravity can transform you into the leader everyone's talking about by going to MediaLeadsCo.com.